All right. Welcome, everyone. We're very, very happy to have you all here. My name is Adeyemi Ogini, a doctor by training. I'm the MD CEO of Intelligent Healthcare Solutions, the owners of the ThummimNG brand that's hosting this webinar today. I will be a moderator, and just give you a bit more about me. I trained at Ibadan. And after that, I got my MBA from Duke University here in the USA. Damal and I started ThummimNG as a platform for improving medical education in Africa. And we're very proud to be working with DFDOV today to provide opportunities for doctors who want to get an experience of healthcare practice elsewhere in the world. Many people have different reasons for wanting to go to the UK for their own medical practice. For some people, it's just to improve the quality of practice they are able to deliver. For some, it's for family reasons. For some, it's for economic reasons. But whatever your reason for taking this webinar is, we have two people who are experts at making this transition. They've helped other people through this transition, and they're here to give you advice as much as you will need. On the panel here, we have Dr. Ovo and Dr. Ife. Dr. Ovo is a medical doctor currently practicing in the UK. He had his basic medical training in Nigeria at the University of Benin. He then went on to obtain the fellowship of the West African College of Surgeons in anesthesia. His passion for global practice led him to his present practice in the United Kingdom, where he has worked across anesthesia, intensive care, primary care, as well as placements in acute medicine, elderly care, psychiatry, emergency medicine, and pediatrics. His vast experience and passion has made him a source of information to many internationally trained medical doctors intending or currently practicing in the United Kingdom. He is the founder of the Facebook group Nigerian Doctors in the UK, a platform that serves the information and social needs of thousands of medical doctors. He is also the co-founder of DFDOV, a dynamic organization that drives medical education. Dr. Ovo, we're glad to say, is married with 2 kids. He loves talking to people and believes that life is about people and living is about relationships. You're very welcome, Dr. Ovo. And the other panelist, okay. The other panelist is Dr. Ife. She is also a qualified UK trained family physician. She obtained a basic medical degree from University of Ghana Medical School in Legon, and then relocated to the UK. Prior to her training, she had obtained a wealth of experiences in general medicine, where she worked in gastroenterology, geriatrics, stroke, and acute medicine. That's why she chose a subspecialty in internal medicine. In addition to being a doctor, Dr. Ife is also a life coach and very keen on educating people in the health sector on consulting and how to achieve a good overall patient experience. Dr. Ife is also very glad to provide assistance and education to other foreign trained doctors moving to the UK, who are also keen to, and she's also keen to provide communication skills training to all groups of healthcare professionals in Africa. She's also a proud mom of 3 kids, and she's very passionate about counseling, coaching, and medical education, which was why she co-founded DFDOV. I hereby welcome Dr. Ife.
Hello all. Thank you for coming.
So I'll set up the agenda for today's meeting. It's a very intimate session we're going to have because there are just a few of us, and so that allows us to make it a lot more interactive. However, to start it off, Dr. Ovo would give us a brief overview for about 10 minutes, and after that overview, we would open the floor for questions. I must say that being online, Zoom gives us a lot more features to help the question and answer be a better experience for each and every one of us. So I would like to say that if during Dr. Ovo's speech you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A function that is at the base of your screen. If you move the mouse down to the base of the screen, Q&A function pops up. You can type in your questions there just to make sure you don't forget them. And once the overview is done, then we can pick the questions from the Q&A session as well. And then we expect that because it's just a few of us, we would have a more intimate session towards the end of the Q&A session. Thank you very much. And I must say that as well, if you have any comments or you're experiencing any challenges, feel free to raise your hand. I would get in touch with you using the platform as well. All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Yemi, for that introduction. Sometimes when you hear your own introduction, it's a bit like, but eventually, it's what it is. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you everyone for joining in. I think there's an advantage in the fact that we're not so many, so we can have that kind of very close interaction. It would be lovely if we can all have our videos on, I think. So we can put faces to these things and be able to interact better. Yeah, so I want to assume that you have all gone through the material I sent, which is just giving an overview of, what coming to practice in the UK is. And like we did say, let me just, like Yemi said, trying to share my screen. So, like Yemi said, at the end of the day, we all have different reasons why we want to, practice. Can you all see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so slideshow.
Yes, you have to enable editing. Yeah.
Okay, so cool, fantastic. So why? I mean, the reasons abound, like so many reasons, from outrightly mundane things to really noble things, like I want to improve myself. And often, I think people start with really noble sounding, interestingly. I had part one and I just felt, is this all? I wanted more. I was like, there has to be more. Like, is that all? So I started the search, and then, eventually I stumbled on stuff and I started, but having come here now, it's changed. It's not just professional development anymore. It's so much more. Money, the insecurity you have to face out there. And I often tell people, when I was a senior registrar and teaching medical students, I used to tell them, if you love Nigeria, you will go out. You can't be better than the system that created you. So if you actually love Nigeria, you will go out, develop yourself, and come back. That's what the Indians have done. I encourage people every day. We have to think of how to give back. So reasons are varied, and like 1,000 reasons why people choose to leave. Some people just leave because of friends, And then I assume that all of us here are doctors. So, and then like I said, some of the mundane things like salary delays, industrial disharmony, Johesu, that came up in the survey that we did on the Facebook group, Unduk. So peer pressure, and all that. And then things like kidnappers, and, some people just everything, I just want to leave, So, it's, the journey is often long. Well, I wouldn't say long per se, but it's often not a straightforward, thing. Lots of things, you need information, key information. So sometimes people say, I'm not a social media person, and I tell them, for this purpose, you have to be a social media person, So I have a friend who's looking for a job in the UK, and I've told him, you have to join platforms. You can't just sit down in your house and, so you have to get information. You have to have the right motivation. You have to be committed. So, because not everyone gets a smooth journey. some people are lucky, you know, they set off and, you know, in 6 months all worked out. But some people, I've known people who have had to write exams twice, you know, it can, you know, by the time you think of the finances you've committed, and I have my own personal story as well, you know. And the interesting thing about relocating is that it's not like, it's like you sending yourself. Who has sent you on this journey now? You just choose to send yourself on this journey, you know. So when you start spending money and putting commitment, time and everything, it's like, okay, do I have to do this, you know? So yeah, you need all that. Now, but just to the pathways, as much as possible, I'm just going to round this off quickly, and then we can have questions. And I think these things will be available for you, so there'll be no need. Basically, whichever pathway you choose, you know, you've got to write some sort of assessment. At the least, you'll do an English exam, you know. And I think that's the least possible thing. That's the least exam you need to do to be able to achieve this, an English exam. And it sounds small, but I often tell people that it's the trickiest, it's the most demeaning, in my own opinion, because I don't know why I've gone to med school for all my life, spoken English, and now somebody wants to test how good my English is. Just outrightly ridiculous, but it can be really, really tricky. So I've known people who've done it 7 times, 8 times, you know. So, so at the least, you have to do an English exam, whatever pathway you choose. And then there are the pathways after the English exam that, you know, is now open. And that's mainly for people who have a postgraduate fellowship. Unfortunately, they keep changing the bar of what a postgraduate fellowship is. There was a time when just passing primaries is considered as postgraduate. Then it went on to, oh, you need to have part 1. But now, for most colleges, you need to have the full fellowship to be considered as postgraduate. And it's a college-dependent pathway. Like, you need to actually be attached to a college. So you can't be like, you know, you have just finished med school, you've been roaming around Nigeria. No, you won't qualify for that. So you need to have, you know, trained as an obstetrician, trained as an anesthetist, trained as, you know, pathologist, whatever. Yeah. And then this pathway is open to you. It's the cheapest, it's the most efficient, and it's the UK's way of getting people in quickly. They need people in quickly. They just, you know, make this and then people come in.
Sorry, just a second over.
Yeah.
Just a second. I was wondering if you were using the slides, because it looks like it's frozen.
No, it's yeah. So I'm using the slides, but I'm not. Yeah. So
okay, because we can't see the slides changing. I can't see the slides changing right now.
Oh. You are screen sharing. It says I'm screen sharing. So can you? Yes. Has it changed?
We're just on the first slide, which is the
the
pathway to medical practice in the UK.
Let me stop sharing and
restart it.
I'm restarting, right. Exactly.
Apologies, audience. I think that was just a technical itch, but we're going to fix it right now. Thanks.
Can you see it now?
Start it again. But we can.
Okay.
I can see your screen, but it's. Would you click on enable editing first?
Enable editing, yeah.
Oh, better. Screen sharing has stopped as the shared window is closed.
Yes, please.
I'm really sorry. Doing it again. Share. Slideshow from correct. Better?
Almost.
Are we okay now?
Okay. Yeah. It's yes.
Is it changing?
Yes, it's changing now.
Okay.
You might. Okay. So you might want to go to earlier slides.
Okay.
So we can.
Okay. So, like I was saying, you know, I was talking about the pathways, right? And I said the first one is no more exams, you know. So that's, once you do your English exam, that's it. But then for this pathway, you need to actually be attached to a college. So you need to have done some postgraduate medical qualification. And like I was saying, it keeps changing. But I think the current thing for most colleges is you need to have a postgraduate fellowship. But the thing with this pathway is that you need a job from a hospital in the UK already. That's it. So, but it's the cheapest pathway. It's quick. You know, you just need to, after you've passed the exams, pay some money to the college. They'll get GMC to register you, and that's it. You know, you come into the country and you work in some capacity. Okay. But like I said, the catch here is that you need to have a postgraduate qualification. It's a requirement. And that's what some people call MTI. If you hear MTI, it's some sort of exchange program. The whole idea is for you to go back to Nigeria, but people never go back, really, you know. So forget that caveat of you have to go back. People never really go back. As I was saying, how do you like your state? You know, because I've come to the meat of the matter now, which is we're coming to the second pathway, which is the most popular pathway that doctors use in relocating to the UK. And this is the conversion exams, PLAB. I think everybody knows PLAB. So you do your English exams, do PLAB 1, you do PLAB 2. It's expensive. It's more expensive than the first part. I think PLAB 1 now is about £400. PLAB 2 is about £850, you know. Therefore, PLAB 2, you have to travel into the UK. You have to be around for at least 2 weeks. I don't think you can be around for anything less. Well, some people have pulled some stunts before, but generally speaking, 2 weeks, you have to be around. So, yeah, it's expensive. You know, but it's the most popular way. And I tell people that sometimes when people ask me about Canada, Australia, I tell them PLAB exams are the easiest first world exams to pass around the world. You know, if you're looking to practice in the first world, whatever first world means, the PLAB exams are the easiest. They are easier than the American exams, easier than the Australian exams, easier than Canadian exams. You know, so if you actually want to, they are easy to pass. Nigerians do well in them, you know, because PLAB 2 is communication, and I think Nigerians they do better than the Asians, generally speaking. I think, you know, I don't have figures, but I remember when I did my PLAB 2, when I came out of the hall, I got down and then I was with some Asians and they said, "Oh, how was it?" I was like, "Okay." They said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Nigeria." I said, "You guys don't have a problem," you know? So, and yeah, I think PLAB 2 was about the easiest exam I ever wrote in my life because you can see it from afar. You know what they want, you give them what they want, and you're home and dry. Just do some acting. Okay, so but that's PLAB. It's the most popular route, and it's quite easy. You have to pay the money. You commit yourself to it. You should be able to pass it. Yeah, and then yeah, the third pathway is postgraduate qualifications. Now, this is another interesting pathway. Interesting because if you've made up your mind on what you want to do in the UK, for instance, you've made up your mind, I want to be an endocrinologist, or I want to be a nephrologist, or I want to be an acute medical physician, you know, then I'll probably advise you to go through this route. The advantage being that you will have written some of the exams you need to write to be able to continue in that pathway. So you're using one stone to kill two birds. That's the advantage. The fact that, you know, you've written, so the whole idea of this is that there are certain UK postgraduate qualifications, you know, which are exams you write really, and you don't have to be in the UK to write them, you know, although you have to travel in to write some part of them. And most of the exams follow like PLAB. There's the written one, and then there's the one where you have to interact. I have a couple of friends who've come in like this, you know. One is a pediatric surgeon somewhere in Cambridge, if you're not really from that person, Cambridge, yeah. So, yeah, so, but, you know, he wrote the surgical postgraduate, you know, Royal College of Surgeons. When we started, he told me, you know, see what I want to do. And I told him then that, well, yeah, it's a good route. It's just that those exams are usually tougher than the PLAB. But he you know, he went for it. He had to do the second part twice, but he's here now, you know, he's practicing, he's a pediatric surgeon, you know, he's doing well, you know, so that's the advantage of this route, the fact that, yes, you've already written some of the exams. So for instance, say you want to be an anesthetist, you can write the primaries. Once you pass the primaries of the Royal College of Anesthesia, which you can write from Nigeria, That's it. You get registered with GMC, you get a job, and once you start training as an anesthetist, you find out that you've done some of your exams already. But if you haven't made up your mind on what you want to do, I won't encourage you to do this, because for me, it will be too much, asking too much to get into this. If you haven't made up your mind, or if you are not affiliated to the college. So round off, yeah, prepare for, things will happen. You fail exams, you run out of money, your spouse will not agree, these things, they come up, you have to prepare for them. It's a big move. And I often tell people, don't underestimate the impact of the move. It's going to change your whole life, and change everything around you. Plan. You can't, you can't plan too much. Like I said, get your partners involved early. So as soon as you start thinking about this thing, begin to have a conversation with your spouse, especially if your spouse is not medical. You need to get them on board. You need to start looking at what the options are. I mean, on the group Nigerian doctors in the UK, one place we always find very difficult to cope with is non-medical spouses. It's a big deal, especially if it's even worse if you're the lady and your non-medical spouse is a guy. It's a big problem. So the earlier you get them involved in the conversation and explore what their own options are, the better. Then start saving. Put some money somewhere that you don't touch, that looks good when somebody looks at your account. The earlier you start that as well, some 1 million naira, just leave it there, don't touch it. So for visa applications, all that, they need your account to look, to look good. Then immunizations, yeah, begin to think about, because when you come here, they're going to harass you with all sorts of blood tests and immunizations. So hepatitis, all of them, just try and make sure you start, because some of them take months. So if you start early, you can get all of them on board. It's not going to stop you. It's just going to be a hassle at that point to get them on board. So yeah, I think that summarizes it. I'm happy to listen to questions, because I think people are in different heads, spaces in their heads, and then we can pick up on what more we need to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ovo. I believe that was very insightful. So we're going to the question and answer session now, and we already have a few questions. The first question is from Dr. Olufisayo. I could read it out to you, and basically just have your take on it, as well as Dr. Ife's take as well. So we take it you first, then Dr. Ife, and then we take it from there. So the question is, I'm a GP / family physician with a fellowship from the West African College of Physicians. I'm interested in your pathway 1. Can you link me with any exchange programs by which to achieve this? Also, how does one secure a job in this regard? I already have my IELTS. Okay,
cool. Now, unfortunately, this pathway for GP is almost non-existent. I wouldn't say there are some really complex, but the thing with GP training in this country is that it's so short that any other pathway you want to use is probably equivalent. It won't give you any advantage. So if your eye is on GP, I'll tell you, do the PLAB exams, get into the country. As a matter of fact, GP is about the only specialty you can actually get training into straight from Nigeria without, your first job in this country can actually be GP training. And I have a couple of people who've come in like that. I have somebody who is starting in August, who's coming straight from Nigeria, and she's getting into GP training. We've explored, the college has some fancy looking things, but I'll tell you, they are not viable. You can do your search, but it's all about viability and what will really work and what can get you in. I'll tell you, leave that thing. Unfortunately, GP is not viable for that route. Do your PLAB. You can get all your PLAB exams. Take away COVID. You can get your PLAB exams within a year if you're committed. And yeah, by August next year, you can join the next set of trainees if you want. And 3 years. GP training is so short, you blink your eyes, it's done, you know? So that would be my advice. I don't know if he has, you know.
I think the RCGP has route for international recruitment, but that route is only for EEA nationals, so literally for European nationals. They have other things like induction and refresher, but that is for people who've already worked in UK and left the country and are wanting to come back. So there is no route for people who haven't been in the UK or who haven't trained in the UK or who are outside the economic of Europe area to come directly into family medicine. The thing about GP training that is a cultural thing. Usually it's not really much about the medicine. Don't get it wrong, the exams are hard, but it's a way of life. So the training is more of I call it social medicine. So you can't do family medicine in Nigeria and automatically come here and have a 10 minutes consultation and be sure that you're confident and safe. It's short, like I've always said. So like I always said, it's very, very quick to finish. It's very intense. Don't get it wrong, very intense, but short. So you can literally finish in 3 years. There is no direct route for people outside Europe to come straight to practice as a GP. No, that program is not yet available.
All right, thank you very much for that. The next question is, please explain this pathway 3. He doesn't fully understand it. I am going to open his mic. Yes, Dr. KK. Okay. Could you please just speak up in terms of what you don't understand?
Hello?
Okay.
Can you hear us, Dr. KK?
His mic is muted.
His mic, bless him.
Yes, just a second. I'm trying to unmute him.
Okay, yeah, he's unmuted now.
It's live now.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. KK.
Okay. I don't really understand that part.
Yes, do you have any specific questions around what you don't understand?
Three. I know of pathway. Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay. I know of pathway 2, but that pathway 3, you were saying something about if you already made up your mind on what you want to, on which specialty you want to do, then you can follow.
So, can you hear me?
I'm sure you can. Just go ahead. I'm sure you can.
Okay. All right.
Network.
So, yes. So the pathway 3, basically what happens in pathway 3 is you do exams that are similar to PLAB, but they are college specific. So what I mean pathway, is, pardon? Okay. They are college specific. And what I mean is, I'll give you a good example. Surgeons, anesthetists, obstetricians, they are the ones who are those are very popular routes by which they come in. Pediatricians as well. So what they do in this pathway is that, not so much of pediatrics, but anesthetists, obstetricians, surgeons, what they do is this, that instead of writing the PLAB exams, they write the Royal College exam primaries. Most Royal Colleges have 2 exams, most of them. There's the initial exam that gets you into training. Then there's the exit exam. It's not an exit exam, but they call it finals. So in this pathway, what these people do is that they write these exams. They can be in Nigeria, come in, write these exams. And when they have written them and have obtained those primaries, that in itself gives them the ability to register with GMC. The whole aim of all this drama we're talking about, like I often tell people, is to get your name on that register. Whether it's your grandfather that want to put it to, or the witches in your village, but if your name gets on that General Medical Council register, that's all. You can look for a job in the UK. So all this hassle that we're going around is just to try and get your name. The difference between you and I, right now is that my name is on the General Medical Council register. Your name is not on it. That's it. Once you get your name on it, so that's one route. GMC has listed, and there's a link on the presentation, have a list of qualifications that when you pass those exams and you get them, they register you directly. So you bypass PLAB. That's the whole idea. So if you have any of those qualifications, then you just apply to GMC straight, and then, you know, you get registered. But like I said, whatever route you want to use, English exam, you must write. Is that clear now? Christopher,
Hello?
okay. Is that clear?
Yes, it is. It is.
So I was saying that it gives you an advantage. For instance, if you want to do surgery and you've already passed the primaries of surgery, you've gotten registered with GMC, you've come into the country. It gives you an advantage because when you start training, you know, in surgery, you don't need to write that exam. You've already written it. That's what you used to get on the register anyway, you know. But somebody who came in through PLAB, if you now want to do surgery, that primaries of surgery, you still have to write it.
Okay.
You know? So if you already made up your mind that I want to go and do anesthesia in the UK, then perhaps I'd advise you to come in through that route. And then you've used one stone to kill two birds. You've used same exam to come into the country. And when you start training, same exam is done already.
Okay.
Hello?
Yemi, your mic is muted. Yemi, your mic is muted.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I said the next question we're going to take is from Dr. Elijah Adudo. I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but that question will go to Dr. Ife. The question is, which path is better for someone already in residency in Nigeria and wants to be a cardiologist? The PLAB pathway or writing the Royal College exams? I know Dr. Ovo just addressed it a bit right now, but Dr. Ife, what insights do you have for that question as well?
I think what Dr. Ovo said is very valid, isn't it? If the person is doing residency in Nigeria with obviously cardiology specialty, the question is what exams do they have? If they have the West African College, then it's obviously not valid for the GMC register. Does that make sense? So it's all about, even if you're ST5 in Nigeria, you're literally done this year. If you have the Nigerian exams now, those qualifications are not usually acceptable on the GMC register. But if they went on to, let's say, do their MRCP exams, but that's a bit more complex because it's step 1, step 2, step 3, and then they do their SEC in cardiology, then that is a different route to get them into the GMC register. Does that make sense?
Dr. Adudo, you can unmute yourself and basically respond. We're now into that session where
yes,
the room.
Does that make sense, Dr. Adudo? So it depends on the exams you have taken. The link in Dr. Ovo's presentation will, because then it's not every specialty now that will grant you an automatic registration with the GMC, and I'm not sure MRCP is one of them. However, if you go on a step further and finish your MRCP and then do your specialty certificate in cardiology, which is a bit dramatic to do 4 exams all the way in Nigeria, then you probably can get straight through the GMC. So rather than do 4 exams to get you to pathway 3, you're probably better off doing PLAB 1 and PLAB 2 and going through pathway 2. Does that make sense?
So I'm just going to add, MRCP actually is one of them.
But you have to do the full 3 steps.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it's very popular. It's very popular for the Asians. I agree with you. It's, you know, and that's what I often tell people.
What's the point? Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot you have to do.
Yeah.
That's what my friend who's a pediatric surgeon, when he told me, I told him, well, if I'm to advise you, I would say, you know, come with PLAB. But he, you know, he insisted and he did it, you know. MRCP is very popular with the Asians. In fact, they've done extensive discussions on MRCP versus PLAB, you know, and
I would say that because I have MRCP. The reason it's popular with the Asians is that most of the exams the Asians have some centers in Asia. I have my part 1, part 2, and part 3 of the MRCP, but we don't have those centers in Africa. They have in Singapore, they have in Dubai, they have. So in Asia, they're quite big on MRCP because their country their country is one of the countries where the Royal College of Physicians actually go, and they have members there to conduct this exam and make sure that due process is being carried out. So why go through the rigors of going through all that? You have to come to England to do your basis, go back, part 1, part 2. Then you can always do PLAB 1 in Nigeria and PLAB 2 in England. Does that make sense, Dr. Adodo?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Can I also say that, does that mean if you do PLAB 1 and PLAB 2 and you get into the system at that point, then you're probably, you're living in the UK, you're working in the UK, even probably just at a small stipend, right?
No, so I'm going to say something. What's happening with Dr. Adodo is very popular, very common. People have these lofty plans of, I want to be some interventional radiologist. My dear, get in first. Get into the country first. Focus on. You can't possibly begin to build on. People are in Nigeria. They've never written IELTS. They're already calculating. So you see, I want to be a cardiologist of international repute. Oh, that's fantastic. I don't have anything against it. But once you get into this country, your opportunities open. In fact, you might realize that it's not this cardiology I want to do. I want to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. Whatever, but get in, focus on what is my most efficient,
cheapest
way of getting into the
coming
UK.
in first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Once you get in, it opens up. And Yemi, you just asked about stipends. Truth is, is the UK the best place to, if you're coming because of money? I would probably say no. It wouldn't be the best place to head to. If you want money, go to America, I think. But
I'll tell you about that later.
but is it? But what I can tell you is that, number one, what you earn here is better than whatever you earn in Nigeria. That's for sure. I've been more financially comfortable, far, than what you earn in Nigeria. And then it's not so much about money. There's a whole lot that you can't put value to monetarily. So yes, the UK has got its issues, about how much they pay people. You probably wouldn't have a lot of spare cash, especially if you have a family. It's an economy that depends on 2 people to work. If income is coming from one place in the UK, you probably would struggle. But once both of you are working and earning, you should be fine.
Oh, so just to extend that question, right? If both of you work, what are the pathways for spouses to work in the UK if you're in medical training?
It depends on what they do. My wife is she's Nigerian trained lawyer. She came here, and as soon as she came, I asked her what she wanted to do. She wanted to be a solicitor. She did the exams, and she's working now as a solicitor here. So there are different pathways, and the beauty about the UK is that one thing I love the UK for is there are opportunities.
Yeah, limitless.
I hope this is not being recorded. The people here don't want to work. They don't want to, they want to. So there are opportunities.
Don't say anything you don't want to be repeated.
I know, but
does Chatham rule apply?
What I mean is, there are, if you want to apply yourself there, and it's also a good opportunity for career change for spouses.
Exactly.
So people come here, they become teachers. People come here, go into IT. People come here, go into human resources. People come here, go into, so it's a very good, people come here, become nurses. That's a popular one, so it's a good opportunity for career change.
There are lots of opportunities in England. And I think the main thing, like you said, like it's always said, that normally comes out in the group, especially, when the other person is not medical. The most important thing is to, seek support. I mean, we have a massive Facebook group, which is now obviously a charity, and there's lots of information being shared. It's limitless. Literally, the opportunities are limitless. Like people's spouses, you can do anything. Literally, from management to IT to BA to DA, you can retrain. And sometimes you don't even have to go to university again to start the training. But like I'll say, the most important thing is to probably just work together and start planning early. And I think that's the main thing, really. There are loads of opportunities, loads of it.
Right. So the next question I would want to put forward is, there's a doctor that's interested in the second pathway. He's a medical doctor with no fellowship right now, and is asking, what's the best route?
Pathway 2, the PLAB route.
It's second pathway. Do your IELTS exams. I started my journey in November 20. My journey is very interesting. I started out with pathway 3. Okay, so I wanted to do the anesthesia exam. So and like what she's saying, man, those pathways, they are really expensive because I came into this country to do a 2-hour exam. So imagine all the flight money, all that, just to do some 2 or 3 hour exam, MCQ. It really. So I came in, November 2012. I did that. I didn't pass it. November 2013. November 2014. 2013. Sorry, I did that. I didn't pass it because my visa was still open. I came in March 2014, and I still didn't pass the MCQ. And the truth is that writing those exams from Nigeria too can be quite demanding because you are not in the right environment, you don't have the right material. So, it's quite, but then as soon as, I came back from that second exam, I wrote IELTS in April. The very next PLAB 1 available in Nigeria was November 2014. I put in for it, I passed it, gathered some money. May 2015, I did PLAB 2, passed it. June, I got a job. And then, GMC, blah, blah, blah. So I started working in November. So it's not as complex as it looks. Once you set on the pathway, I probably think once you pass your PLAB 1, oh God, you'll be fired up. You'll be good to go. So I will tell you that if you, with that background, just do your PLAB, do your IELTS, or OET, do your PLAB 1, PLAB 2, and then it should be okay.
Thank you very much for that. There's another question about, I'm writing PLAB 1 in November and interested in being a GP. How do I get linked up to directly to training straight from Nigeria?
It's possible, but I think it depends on when you do your GP training exams. Correct me if I'm wrong, the applications open in like November for August the next year. So if the person is doing PLAB 1 in November from the question, then that means they have to apply for training November next year. Does that make sense? So if you're let's have a look at the question again. If you're hoping to do your PLAB 1 in November this year, what it means is that you can't apply for GP training till next year, November, except obviously, depending on how quick, because you have to do your PLAB 1, you have to do your PLAB 2, you have to get your GMC registration, then you apply for your family medicine training. Okay, so if you're just starting, then I think you need to give yourself at least a year to go through that journey, 8 months to like 1 year, go through that journey. Once you're done with your GMC registration, then you can go on the website, on the national recruitment website, and apply for your GP training. They have a couple of rounds. There's normally a round that is in, the first batch is normally in November, and the second round is probably sometime in March. So the most important thing is to give yourself time to get that GMC registration, because you have to feed in those information when you apply for your family medicine training. Okay? But yes, it's very possible. There's a center in Nigeria that they do the exams. It's very possible now. I mean, some people encourage it. That's a separate matter. Some of us don't encourage it. That's a separate matter. But yes, but it's very possible. It's happening now because there's lots of vacancies, and they need to fill these vacancies. So yes, it's very possible, and people are doing it.
I mean, just to add, like you said, that's a different argument. Do you want to come into the UK straight into a training job? I'm for it. I support people. I think it's an efficient way to come into the UK. So, you know, so some people think, oh no, you have to, you know, but like she said, that's a different, but it's definitely an option if you have the heart.
I'm not for it personally, but yeah, it's certainly an option. Like Ovo said, if you have the heart for it, yes.
Okay, and then the challenges with using the link on the presentation, we would clear that up. We would make sure this presentation is available for you on ThummimNG, so that you can, because you registered for it, you can go back in there to get a refresh, and would be sure that we review the link again. Maybe they move the website or something. We'll look at that. And then there's a question around so if you may talk about it as well, question around acceptable postgraduate qualifications to the GMC.
So that is in the link that Ovo sends. Like you said, there's a couple, and they keep changing them, and that's the biggest worry. You can't pin your hand. Before, you know, they said pediatric part 1 was acceptable, but now it's no more acceptable, and there's all that changes going on. But we've put the link to the list of the current acceptable postgraduate qualifications. So what we'll do is I will just add it to the presentation at the moment.
So at the moment, there is no Nigerian qualification, postgraduate qualification that gives you. Now, the difference between Pathway 1 and Pathway 3 is that in Pathway 1, your Royal College finds you eligible and says, oh, we have found Mr. Dr. D eligible for registration with GMC. Now recommend you to GMC to get registered. You now get registered with GMC. All this process is often either triggered by a hospital or by your Royal College. So what happens is that the Royal College, sometimes they have a list of people that have met the criteria to, you know, to go through this route. And then there are hospitals. So hospitals come from time to time. You have anybody for this exchange program? So, oh yes, we've got this person. The hospital looks at the CV, blah, blah, blah. Or on the other hand, the person contacts a hospital directly and says, you know what, I've met the Royal College stuff. I want a job. And the person says, oh, we're happy to give you a job, clear with Royal College. So that tripod interaction between you, a hospital, and the Royal College eventually ends up with the Royal College recommending you to GMC and say, please, can you register this person? GMC registers the person, you come into the country, you work. That's Pathway 1. But in Pathway 3, what happens is that GMC directly registers you based on you having this postgraduate qualification. It doesn't have anything to do with any hospital. It doesn't have anything to do with any Royal College per se. Even though the exams that you are going to be writing or that you have written are actually Royal College exams, but GMC who says, oh, we like this, your qualification is on our list, we register you. You now then have to go and look for a job or look for someone to employ you or something. That's Pathway 3. Now, as we speak, up until a few months back, having West Africa pediatrics used to be an acceptable postgraduate qualification to register with GMC directly. And I have a couple of people.
Pathway 3, right? That was Pathway 3.
Yes, Pathway 3 wasn't like an exchange. So people who, up to a few months back, who had West Africa pediatrics can approach GMC directly and say, look at it, it's on your list, register me. They get registered and then they look for a job. But that's been taken off the list, unfortunately. So right now as we speak, there is no West African qualification that does that. The only qualifications that do that are UK qualifications. So you need to look at the list, follow that link, look at the list, and if there's anyone you fancy and you want to pursue, for instance, an institute, a very popular one is the European diploma. You know, that's a very popular one for anesthetists to use to come in. So if you fancy any of that on the list, then enjoy. But like Ify and I have said, I don't think it's an efficient way to come in. For me, it still remains that step 2. Do your exams and get in. That's what I would say.
Right.
Okay,
so,
can I take one more question before I...
Yes, I know you've got to exit time, so we were winding down. What I'll do is that this question is short and sharp answer, if you can actually afford it, is after passing Tab 1 and 2, how is is it to get work in the UK?
That's a very bogus question, isn't it?
So give us your opinions on a scale of 1 to 10. What would you?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 10 over 10. You will get a job, but the issue is the when. Does that make sense? Because there's a couple of factors that comes into play when you want to get a job, isn't it? It has to do with the number of vacancies, which is a factor. It has to do with the number of vacancies set out for people that are non-locally trained, which is another factor. It also has to do with the current climate, especially maybe this sort of COVID times. But in terms of scale of 1 to 10, yes, 10 over 10, you will get a job. You may have to give it time. The other things that people look at when they want to recruit, like maybe your CV, your experience. I mean, that's a very, very bogus question, like I said. But yes, on a scale of 1 to 10, you will get a job. But the issue is the when. Is that okay?
Thank you very much for that. Yes, that's so. What we'll do is this. We're going to stay online for a bit beyond the time. I'm sure Dr. Ovo would look at the
still here
and be able to type in answers or answer other questions that you may have. At this point, we can say we're coming to the end of this conversation. So because it's regulation time, if we have basically, I'm sure people have learned a lot from this, and we've tried to make sure that all the questions are answered. However, if you still have other questions, we would extend by 10 minutes, where at least Dr. Ovo will be around to answer the questions you have, and as much as possible. So thank you very much, Dr. Ife. Thank you very much, Dr. Ovo. I would say the session is ended. All the questions have been answered. But
a couple more. There's a couple more.
Just one more, actually.
Just one more, actually. Okay, good.
Yes. And that's it. Okay. Another one just came in. How easy is it to get GMC registered and work on locum jobs?
So when you're talking about locum jobs, if you're a dependent, then yes, that's an option. Sorry, yeah, anyone can locum. Sorry, anyone can locum really. But how much locum you can do is a function of if you're a dependent or if you're the main applicant. So if you're the main person who is applying, you can only do 20 hours of locum outside your employing hospital. But if you're, for instance, typically couples that are doctors, while one person has the employment and is doing the work for an employer, the other person locums, because that person is a dependent. So yes, you can locum. But yes, you can locum. Yeah, you can locum whichever way you want. And lots of us actually depend on it. I do. So yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And the last question here is, can you please take us through the details of what to expect in a PLAB exam, visa processing for couples, immunization, GMC registration? I think that may require, one of the things we're going to do right now is Dr. Ovo is going to share his email address, and so is Dr. Ife. So
I can give it 2 minutes.
Okay. Can I sign up now? That's okay. Dr. Ovo, can I sign up now?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much, Dr. Ife. We appreciate your being here.
Thank you. Look forward to future sessions.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Good evening.
Thank you. So you do your English exams. The next thing is PLAB 1. PLAB 1 is MCQ. It's medical. It's just medical MCQ, taking you through around everything, gynae, obstetrics, dermatology, everything, immunology, like that, and it's MCQ, and you can write it in Nigeria. I think they have like 3 centers. It happens like 3 times in a year. So that you can do easily in Nigeria. PLAB 2, you have to come to the UK. Everybody comes to the UK to do PLAB 2, and everybody does it in Manchester. So you have to go to that GMC building in Manchester, and it's OSCE. What I mean is there are stations. So you walk into the room, there's a patient, there's an examiner, and you have that interaction. Oh, what can I do for you? My name is this, Then and then someone calls you. That's PLAB 2. Having done that, the next thing is GMC registration. Now you have to verify your certificates. I think there's EPIC or something, or EMIC that does that. And then GMC will go through your paperwork and all that. And once they find you good, they give you a registration number and you're registered. Now, Often I tell people, as soon as you pass your PLAB 2, you can actually start low-key looking for a job, you know? And then once you get the job, usually the visa is straightforward once you get the job. And all your dependents come with you. And your dependents are your wife or social partner, or civil partner, wife or husband or civil partner, and your children are less than 18 years. Not houseboy, not house girl, not your mother, not your father, not your brother, not your sister, okay? And all those, usually, they are entitled to come with you. Immunizations, don't worry about that. I just said that as, don't worry about that. Even if you are not fully, when you come here, they will take your blood, whatever you need, they will sort it out. So don't let that be a problem. Yeah, that's it, really.
All right, thank you very much. And last question is, where can one get good IELTS materials?
So on Nigerian doctors
materials as well, yeah.
Yeah, on Nigerian doctors so I can tell you my own personal experience with IELTS. I didn't bother doing so much. There are lots of Google apps that do these IELTS things. Lots of them, free apps on Google that will tell you what to do, you know, and will train you. I only practice my reading and my listening. No, sorry, I only practice my listening and my writing. Because the reading is pretty dummy proof in my own opinion. There's a passage, there are questions, you answer the passage. I had 9 in my reading because I absolutely saw no reason to practice comprehension passage, right? So the answers are right there in the passage. They won't ask you anything outside the passage. You just read the passage, enjoy it, and then answer the question, simple. So I had a 9, it wasn't difficult. The speaking, that one takes a bit of a skill because you have to be listening and following something on your paper and writing. It takes quite that balance. So, and on Google, that's what I use. I use Google app, the Google Play. There are lots of apps, IELTS listening, you see them. It's just to practice that skill of listening to a conversation. Perhaps someone is describing a building, the building's diagram is in your front. So you have to make out what A is A the library or so you have to just practice that bit of skill. And then the writing, just because there's the number of words, so you need to be, you know, varied in the way you, the speaking, me, I don't see what to practice. What you speak every day, just go there, talk normal, and don't, you know, just say it. And I tell people, use a real life experience. Don't make up something. So if they ask you about meeting a friend, actually think of a friend you met after a long time and tell them what the meeting was. It's that simple. And that's what I did. But in terms of materials, we have an OET group. We don't have an IELTS group yet on ONGroup, but we have an OET group where they have loads of materials. And I can tell you for IELTS and for any other exam, get on social media, please. Get on Telegram, get on Facebook. People have loads of it. They say, no, I don't want to mix with anybody. You can't get anything. So go on Facebook. You'll see loads of groups there where people talk about these things every day. They'll tell you as in what's trending now, the latest things. And you get, you know, materials. But we do have an OET group. It's not IELTS. OET is also acceptable. And I can add you to the group if you just email me your number or something. Or I could send you the link.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So do we, the slides, do they have your email address so we can share it now?
Yeah, sure. So
we'll be sending everybody your email address and phone number. Yes, we'll send every participant here will get your email address and your phone number, and that for Ife too. I'm
very accessible. I will call you. It's something I love doing. Like I was telling Damola, I love this. I love it. I love to tell people. I tell people never feel trapped. You are not trapped. You've got options and they're achievable. So, you know, I'm happy to have a conversation with you over the phone and through your journey. At any point, if you're stuck, you need advice, you need guidance, I'm happy to do that.
All right. We very much appreciate your this event. It's been very illuminating, I believe, for most, and a lot of questions have been answered. Yes, please.
Maybe there's one or two attendees that would like to say something before we close.
Oh, for sure. Any if there's anyone that has that just you can unmute yourself. I've given everybody access. So if you want to say, if you have any questions that have been answered, then please, let's have it. Unmute and speak. Feel free to speak.
Okay, good evening. I don't know if you can hear me. This is Dr. Derinde.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I had typed my question earlier, but thank you for this opportunity to speak. The format for PLAB 1 exams has changed. We got the information yesterday. It's now 150 questions as opposed to 180 in the past for 2.5 hours. Though the June exam was cancelled, we know eventually they would open up the Nigerian centers. So I just wanted to know if DivDov would not mind helping us to find out any other changes to the process that GMC or the UK will be doing generally, so that we can be aware before the time comes. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So one of the things that we've done, which is creating that group Unduk. If you are not on Nigerian Doctors in the UK platform on Facebook, please join that group. Not just, in fact, people create Facebook profiles just to join the group. There's a whole lot of information there. Thousands of doctors there, almost 7,000 people practicing across the UK and Nigeria. So we get regular information there. So that's certainly one platform to join. And yes, definitely, you have my number now, you have my email. Yes, if you know, unfortunately, things are changing every day, because as you know, as the pandemic is going back, things are going to change and all that. So yeah, definitely we'll keep you informed of any changes, you know, as they happen.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Does anybody else have a question? Please feel free to use the mic right now. Okay, barring any other question, I would say a big thank you to Dr. Ovo for spending time to answer as many questions as possible here. And a big thank you to the audience as well for being part of this event. We would never have had this event without you. It was just for you. And even post the event, you would have access to the materials, the presentations, the video, as well as you can also reach out to the panelists to ask them questions. And as you see, they are very open, very accessible, and they really want to help people. And that's one thing we really appreciate, the opportunity for being able to bring this to you as a Nigerian doctor on the ThummimNG platform. Dr. Ovo, thank you so very much for sharing your experience. We really appreciate it. And on that note, we say a big thank you. Do you have any closing words, Dr. Ovo, before we?
No, like I said, I'm accessible. I can't say that more than then join Unduk. Like Ify said, it's a non-profit making, you know, we are gradually evolving into a proper group just beyond Facebook. So it's a place to be. You'd love it there. It's fun, it's information, it's networking.
Absolutely. So please join Unduk. That's Nigerian Doctors in the UK.
In the UK,
it's a Facebook group, and you can find it very easily. And if you have it, we would also have all the links in the presentation that will be uploading for everyone. Okay, thank you very much for attending, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.